Today on Under the Big Tree, checking out my Serge Modular. In the early 90s, I was doing my undergraduate work in electronic music at San Francisco State University. The electronic music studio there was wonderful. It was an interesting hodgepodge of analog and digital materials. There was an Ampex half-inch 4-track recorder, there were a bunch of analog synthesizers there was a Mac 2CI running some ancient sequencing software, there was an Emacs sampler. It was really a combination of digital and analog. One of the amazing modulars that they had there was an early Buchla 100 that clearly had been made during the San Francisco Tape Music Center days. The other modular they had there was a Serge Modular. Now, the Buchla seemed fairly easy to understand. That it was being used to be able to teach the basics of synthesis. But the Serge was inscrutable. It was mysterious. It was covered with bizarre and arcane labels, and it was difficult to understand what they did without just going through and experimenting with them. It was also the most marvelous synthesizer I'd ever played with, and I would sit there working on it night after night, day after day, whenever I had time in the recording studio there. For those who are new to the world of Serge, there are a couple of defining characteristics of these things. The first one is that the modules themselves are bigger than Eurorack. They are 4U rather than 3U. In addition, they use banana jacks, which is wonderful because you can take a connection and attach another connection directly to it, just like that. All of the Serge modules are evenly spaced in terms of having these rows, these grids, in which you have inputs, outputs, LEDs, knobs, all on a patch panel just like that. And so it makes it fairly straightforward to be able to learn how it is that the different things work, because everything is always laid out in the same way. The graphics themselves are very simple and utilitarian, which I tend to prefer. But the most important defining characteristic of the Serge modular systems is the patch programmability. Now, the idea here is that one of these modules can do all sorts of different things depending upon how you patch it within itself. So as an example, here we have an envelope generator. But if we wanted to make this a looping envelope generator or an LFO of some sort, we would take the output trigger and then we would plug it in to the input. And the result of that is that every time the envelope ends, it tells it to start again, and it goes around and around and around. Patch programmability is incredible because it gives you an awful lot of different opportunities to be able to do a lot of different things with a module. But it also takes a decent amount of exploration. So eventually I finished my undergraduate work and left San Francisco State University, and the Serge became something that people were just not really interested in. So it ended up leaving the studio to make room for another computer. Years went by, and I'd been doing a ton of work with Eurorack, which I love, but the size of everything is so small, and there's this whole notion that you have all of these different modules from lots of different people, and I was looking for more of a homogeneous kind of experience. At that point I said, you know, it sure would be interesting to get back into Serge again. So I started looking around, and I discovered Random Source in Berlin, and then 7375 also in Berlin, and Elby Designs in Australia. And what I decided to do for myself was build a 5-unit Serge module to start with. Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 3 of the modules are from Elby Designs in Australia. This is called their Best of CGS system, and it consists of the Bog, or Bringer of Groove, the Swamp, which is a sequencing system, and the Marsh, which is a bunch of other various and sundry modules. Now those I had made for me by Elby Designs. However, the other 2 panels I have here are the homebrew system from 7375 in Berlin. Now this system is based on the very earliest designs of the Serge modular system, and so everything is very simple and very crude. However, it came as a kit, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me to build 2 of these systems. Now these panels need to actually be connected together somehow, and so I designed these cheek blocks to house them. I did that using LibreCAD, which is some freeware CAD software. Once I designed out the system, I sent the DXF file off to a manufacturer that then laser cut these blocks out of 1/4-inch aluminum. They fit absolutely perfectly. I then went and took them and had them powder coated this lovely purple, and now I have this unique, one-of-a-kind system with these 5 panels that are inside of it. Now, this is half of my overall desires for a Serge system. I also want to eventually get another 5 panels of the random source Serge modules. However, one thing at a time. There is enough material here to keep me learning and enjoying for a long time to come. So let's talk about that learning. As I started working my way through the synthesizers, trying to teach myself, I really noticed that there was not a great deal of documentation out there on the web. And so I started to focus on one module at a time, really trying to learn it and understand all the different aspects of it. And so I thought it would be a great idea to shoot a series of videos documenting the use of all of these different modules. And so I'm starting now. I'll pick one module at a time and sit down, go through all of the different knobs and functions on it, demonstrate how it works, and hopefully this will be of use to other people who are also trying to learn these wonderful instruments. That's it. If you're a devotee of these wonderful Serge modulars, I hope you'll come back and check out those videos as I make them.